Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. I hope everybody's enjoying the sunshine that we're having, at least here where we're at in Alaska. I hope you're enjoying breakup. We're having a quick breakup season. For those who aren't in Alaska, breakup is when the snow turns to mud and all the ice on the lakes turns back into water. And this year it's happening pretty quick. We've had a lot of pretty good weather. I hope everyone's enjoying that. I know I am, as much as we can enjoy that right now under our current restrictions. But I was thinking about some of my favorite things about breakup season or about springtime. One of my favorite times, watching everything change outside and the weather get better. I want you to think about one of your favorite things, something that you enjoy about springtime. I'll just share with you one of my favorite things, and this may strike you as a little bit odd, but it really is one of my favorite things. I enjoy being able to, one second here. Okay, I enjoy being able to use cruise control. I know it sounds odd, but that is one of my favorite things about springtime. They say not to use cruise control when you're driving on snow and ice and whatnot. And during breakup season, all of that goes away and the roads dry up, and then we can use cruise control. And I enjoy that. I like it. I like putting it on cruise control, and I drive somewhere to the post office, a grocery store, just out for a drive. I use cruise control because then all you have to do is steer. And depending on what road you're on, you may not even have to do that. If the grooves are deep enough, it just kind of steers for you. You could almost kick back and read a book. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't encourage that. I wouldn't text and drive or anything like that. But I like cruise control. I really like on a boat, there's something similar, and it's called autopilot. And all you have to do is get the boat going as fast as you want it to go. You set your throttles for the speed that you want, and you turn on the autopilot, and it steers whatever course you want it to steer. It just keeps you going on that course. It corrects for you and keeps you going the direction you want to go. So you got truly hands-free driving. And it makes it very easy and very convenient. Now, with today's technology, you can even get a GPS that talks to your autopilot, and you can lay in an entire course in your GPS, and it will talk to your autopilot and tell it when to turn and what direction to turn, and the boat will drive itself from one place to another completely hands-free for you. And you can really kick back and read a book then. It's super convenient and it's super easy. But cruise control and autopilot aren't without their problems, though. Have you ever used cruise control and suddenly you realize that you're home? You've backed down the driveway, you've pulled into the garage, you've turned the vehicle off, and you don't even remember the drive home? It seems like you missed the whole drive home, like you were just asleep, or maybe your brain was on cruise control, and you realize, oh, I missed that beautiful sunset behind the mountains across the inlet. Oh, I was supposed to stop and get gas, and now I'm just about on empty. Or maybe something even more serious, like you forgot to stop at the grocery store and get ice cream, and now you don't have dinner. Or maybe it's something really super serious, and you're thinking, man, I am so glad a moose didn't walk out in front of me while I had it on cruise control, wasn't even paying attention, and I was just coasting. Or if you're on autopilot on a boat, it can be really serious too, especially up here in the north where we've got extreme tides. After a big tide, there will be whole trees floating out there in the water, and you do not want to hit one of those. That will destroy your propellers, it'll bend the shafts, it'll rip rudders off. It can just flat out sink your boat, in fact. You got to watch out for stray crab pots and shrimp pots. If you've ever had one of those tangled up in the prop, you know what a pain that can be, and it can become very dangerous very quickly. Have you ever seen a dead whale floating as you're out boating? I have. You definitely don't want to run into one of those. Or you just have to watch out for other boats that are on autopilot. You definitely don't want to run into something like that. Cruise control and autopilot are nice, and they make things easy, to just cruise along. And they're very convenient, but they don't come without problems. And sometimes we use cruise control or autopilot in life. Sometimes we're on cruise control and we're missing the sunset. We're forgetting the ice cream. We run out of gas, or we hit something and have a wreck. Or maybe we've got the autopilot on, the life autopilot, and we think everything's fine and dandy, and it's easy and it's convenient, and we're just cruising along. And then suddenly the ship is sinking. It's very easy for us to do that, to enjoy the easy and convenient things in life and just cruise along on autopilot. And when we do that, we tend to take things for granted. How many people recently took for granted that they were going to be going to work on Monday morning? How many people across the nation and even the world took it for granted that they were going to see everybody at church on Sunday morning? How often do I take for granted that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning? How often do we take it for granted that when our wife leaves to go shopping, we're going to see her again? Do we take it for granted that we're going to make it to retirement age? All these things because we're on cruise control. Or we're cruising along the water with the autopilot on, and we go on long enough, and one day we look up and realize we aren't where we wanted to go. And we don't know how we got here. We didn't enjoy the trip, and it's too late to change course. Well, sometimes it takes a little bump in the road or a big wave slapping the side of the boat to wake us up and to help us to recognize that we're on cruise control, and that we're not doing things purposely, that we need to make some changes. Sometimes it takes a little prodding to get us thinking about things rather than just cruising along. Sometimes it takes a lot of prodding. Sometimes it may take something very serious. Sometimes maybe it's something smaller. Well, for me, this whole scenario that we're in was a little bump in the road. It was a wave slapping the side of the ship and waking me up. Fortunately, I haven't been like Pharaoh, who took so much. If you haven't figured this out, this is the preacher preaching a sermon to himself, which really is every Sunday. But I just thought I'd point that out to you. This is Cy preaching to Cy because I've woken up recently. And fortunately, it didn't take something like Pharaoh. Pharaoh took 10 plagues to wake up and smell the coffee and change his course. And the last plague was horrible. In Exodus 11:1, the Lord said to Moses, "Yet one plague more I will bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will drive you away completely." And that was a very severe wake-up call to Pharaoh. He woke up to find that every firstborn all across Egypt was dead. Hopefully we don't get to that point where it takes that for us to have a wake-up call and realize that we need to make a course change. Peter had a big wake-up call. Peter, after denying Jesus 2 times, and Jesus warned him this was going to happen, but after denying him twice, we read in Matthew 26:74 that Peter began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear, "I do not know the man." And immediately the rooster crowed. And when the rooster crows, it's time to wake up. Paul, on the road to Damascus, he got a very serious wake-up call. He thought he was doing the right thing, but for 3 days he was without sight and neither ate nor drank after his come to Jesus meeting. A very serious wake-up call, and it changed the course of the rest of his life. The Philippian jailer, when he had Paul and Silas in prison and they were miraculously let out of prison, it says when the jailer woke and saw that the prison doors were open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself, supposing that the prisoners had escaped. Fortunately for him, Paul says, "Wait a minute, we're still right here." And then we see that the jailer rushed in and trembling with fear, he fell down before Paul and Silas. Then he brought them out and said, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" And it changed the course of his entire life. But it took him getting to the point where he was nearly going to kill himself. On the day of Pentecost, 3,000 people had to hear the sermon that Peter gave. It said, let all the house of Israel therefore know for certain that God has made him, talking about Jesus, both Lord and Christ, this Jesus whom you crucified. Now they were cut to the heart. When they heard this, they were cut to the heart and said to Peter and the rest of the apostles, brothers, what shall we do? They woke up. They hit that bump in the road. The big wave slapped them in the face, and they realized that they needed to make some changes. Maybe this has been a good wake-up call for you. Hopefully, if we need a wake-up call, it doesn't get to something extreme. Hopefully, it's enough to be a wave or a little bump in the road. For me, I want to share with you 3 things that I've realized, 3 things that I've known, but that this whole situation has helped me realize to a greater extent. And the first thing is that I have much to be thankful for. I have so much to be thankful for. You know, Colossians 1:11 through 13 says, may you be strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for all endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son. I need to be so thankful that I get to be a member of the kingdom of heaven. God extended that invitation to me. A member of the kingdom of heaven, a kingdom that lasts forever, a kingdom that can't be shaken, a kingdom who the king is God. No better thing to belong to than that. Romans chapter 5, verse 2 says, through him, speaking about Jesus, we have also obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in hope of the glory of God. I am thankful that I get to be the subject, really, the object of God's grace. And that because of that, I can rejoice in the hope of the glory of God, that I can place my faith in God, that my hope isn't in nothing or something that might be or may be, but is, and it is certain and sure. Ephesians 1:7 says, in him, speaking of Jesus, we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses, according to the riches of his grace. I am so thankful that I have forgiveness of my sins because of God's grace, because of his love for me. There's so much that is wrapped up in that. There's so much that goes along with each one of these things. 1 Peter 1:3 through 5 says, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who by God's power are being guarded through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. I am thankful that I have a retirement that is literally out of this world. And it is better than anything this world could ever provide. And it is guaranteed by God. There are so many things that we have to be thankful for. Well, we have friends and family members and health and so many, even earthly blessings. If you just compare the lives that each of us live compared to others around the world, even during this difficult time, you know, simple things like adequate health care. You know, if I do get sick, I have a place to go. And they have a plan to care for me. I can even call up my oldest son and get a ride there in an ambulance if I want to. And there are so many people in this world who don't have that luxury. They simply do not have it available to them. You know, if I can't work, I'm not going to starve. We have an unbelievable welfare system in our nation. We've got government stimulus checks going out. There is so much money in our country, it's ridiculous. And there are enough people who are interested in feeding other people that none of us will ever have to starve. Even with our current mandates, you know, there's still a lot of freedom that we have to enjoy. In some places, lockdown means staying in your tiny windowless apartment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the head of the household gets to go shopping during certain hours 1 day each week. and that's it. It's all the freedom they've got. Here, we can go to the beach and hunt agates. I've been agate hunting more in the past 2 weeks than I have the past 10 years. We can go down to the river and enjoy the river. We can go out fishing. We have parks to go throw frisbees and footballs in. We have trails to run and ride bikes on. We can even just go for a drive and enjoy the beautiful views. We've got a lot to be thankful for. I know there's been a lot of government overreach and people have had freedoms taken away, and these things need to be addressed, but not at the expense of my gratitude. We need to recognize and acknowledge to God all that we really have to be thankful for in this life and in the next. The second thing I have come to really realize in a very real way is that I only have today. James 4:13-14 talks about life being a mist or a vapor, as some translations say. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Proverb 27, verse 1 says, do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Jesus, in talking about the kingdom in Matthew 6, verse 34, says, therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. There is this constant emphasis on living life today. I can't keep living for tomorrow when I'm not even promised the rest of today. I can plan for the future, but I can't keep living for the future that may not be there. In other words, if I'm going to do something good for someone, I should do it today. If I've got something that I need to say, I can't keep putting it off. There's something I want to do for someone, I better do it now. If there's something I should be doing for the Lord, I better get to it. John 13:35 says, by this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Have I been putting off loving my brothers and sisters and showing the world that we are Christians until tomorrow? I better get to it today, because I may not have tomorrow. Do all people around me know that I'm a Christian because of my love for my brothers and sisters? I better get to it today. 1 John 3:14 says, we know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. Whoever does not love abides in death. Verse 18 says, little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. Have I been waiting for tomorrow to love my brothers and sisters in deed and in truth? Better get to it today. Titus 2:13-14, waiting for our blessed hope, the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us to redeem us from all lawlessness and to purify for himself a people for his own possession who are zealous for good works. What good work am I going to be zealous for today? Because I may not have tomorrow. Titus 3:8 says, the saying is trustworthy, and I want you to insist on these things, so that those who have believed in God may be careful to devote themselves to good works. Am I being careful about that? Am I devoting myself to good works? Am I being purposeful about devoting myself to good works today? The only day that I know for sure that I may have. Ephesians 2:10 says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works. That's for good works today. The only day that I know for sure that I may have. And I wonder how many times we realize, we come to this, we wake up and realize that we have wasted so much time in our lives in front of a screen with our brains and our bodies, not even on cruise control, not even on autopilot, but parked in neutral, not paying attention to what we need to be doing today. The third thing that I have come to realize is that I've got some changes to make in my priorities. If I'm going to start living my life more purposely, if I'm going to get it off cruise control, take it off autopilot, and start living life purposely, I better have my priorities straight. Because I can be alive, but am I really living life? Jesus says that he came so that we could have life and have it abundantly. Am I on cruise control, or am I living life abundantly in Christ? I'm a Christian, but am I really living Christ-like? 1 Peter 2:21 tells us that Jesus left us an example so that we might follow in his footsteps. Am I doing that each day? I'm a citizen of heaven, but is that where I am storing up my treasures? Because Jesus says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I'm in the kingdom, but am I really serving the Lord? Colossians 3:23 and 24 says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. Am I doing that purposely each day, or am I coasting through life? So there are three things that I have come to realize during this time. I have much to be thankful for. I only have today, and I need to reprioritize and get things straight. Because it's really easy to coast down life's highway on cruise control. It's really easy and comfortable to navigate life on autopilot. But you might be missing out on the greatest joys of the journey. You might not end up where you thought you were going. And it is not the purposeful life that God has called his people to live. If you've got the cruise control or the autopilot on, maybe you'll consider this that big bump in the road that grabs your attention. Or maybe you'll take this as that big wave that comes out of nowhere and slaps the side of the boat, waking you up. Maybe you'll regard this as a thought-provoking wake-up call. Now, I hope you'll consider taking some time this afternoon to reflect on your life and the things that you are thankful for, and what time you may or may not have here in this world. And consider making the appropriate changes to your priorities and live your life for God on purpose. And I really hope that you will consider, if you find that there are some changes that you need to make, that you will consider contacting one of your brothers or sisters to ask them for help. And if you'd like some help with that, you're more than welcome to contact me. Please let someone know so that we can be a help to you, so that we can help one another do our job in this world as Christ's representatives and get home to heaven someday. Thank you for your attention. I will turn it back over to our song leader.